In this new video, we'll discuss Forza Horizon. Because, unfortunately, yesterday we got some pretty bad news during the Xbox conference. Forza Horizon 6 probably won't be released this year. In this 2025 video, I'll share my thoughts and explain why. In my humble opinion, this is very bad news, both for the game's developers and for the players. Because right now, we're in a pretty unusual situation. There are a lot of warning signs flashing red about this upcoming Forza. Well, as I clearly told you yesterday, the Xbox Showcase conference was pretty disappointing for Forza fans and for racing game fans in general. Because in reality, yesterday, we didn't get any images at all about the next Forza, and we didn't get any news at all about a racing game developed by the Xbox studios. We didn't get any trailer, no images for the next Forza. This implies that Horizon 6 will not be released this year, which is disappointing news. Usually with the previous Forza games, we've always had an announcement with at least a trailer in June, and then a release announced for November or October. This time, clearly, there was nothing at all. This likely means the game won't release this year unless it's announced at Gamescom or Tokyo Game Show. But that's very unlikely because those conferences generally have much less audience than the Xbox Game Showcase. Xbox prefers to announce games at big events to boost sales, which is sensible. We didn't see anything about Forza Horizon. The only mention was at the end of the conference by Phil Spencer, head of Xbox Studios. He briefly mentioned this just before the conference's final trailer. I'm happy to announce that players will be able to celebrate 25 years of Xbox with a new Fable, a new Gears of War, and the next Forza. That's all we have to go on. It's not much, but we can already say a lot about it. Phil Spencer didn't say the next Forza Horizon, but the next Forza. This could imply several possibilities. First, it could imply that the next Forza isn't a Forza Horizon, so that would mean it's a Forza Motorsport. That's unlikely, as the last Motorsport released 2 years ago and the developers are still improving it. Motorsport games sell significantly less than Horizon games, so it wouldn't be sensible for Xbox to prioritize Motorsport over Horizon. Either way, the next Forza will be neither Horizon nor Motorsport, but the start of a new spin-off, which again seems pretty unlikely. In any case, it would be a big strategic mistake. Because fans are really waiting for Forza Horizon and those games sell really well, so it would be stupid to miss out on that. He is discussing the upcoming installment of the Forza Horizon series without explicitly naming it. Depending on your perspective, the release is either coming soon or not soon at all. It's both good and bad news. The 25th anniversary of Xbox is on November 15th, 2026. This doesn't confirm Forza Horizon 6 or the next Forza will release on November 15th, but it will likely be sometime in that year. On one hand, that's good news because it's not that far away, it's in a year. On the other hand, this choice is bad news for the whole community and for the developers too. As discussed in yesterday's livestream, it remains an extremely risky choice. So, for a lot of reasons, but obviously, one of the reasons that came up very often in the chat is Grand Theft Auto 6. We all know that next year, 2026 is the year of Grand Theft Auto 6. For now, Grand Theft Auto 6 is announced for the beginning of 2026. This could leave the field open for most other games at the end of the year. Except that many people think that this date set for early 2026 is just a placeholder. That is, a date announced simply because they had to announce one, without it necessarily being very realistic. A lot of people think so. It indeed makes sense for Grand Theft Auto 6 to release in fall 2026. Nearly all Grand Theft Auto games, except Grand Theft Auto 4, were released towards the end of the year. The video game season, when most major AAA titles are released, typically falls between September and December. It would be very surprising to see Grand Theft Auto released at a different time. What does that mean? Does it mean there's a world in which, in 2026, Forza Horizon 6 and Grand Theft Auto 6 are set to release within a short time frame? Despite Forza Horizon 6's slim chances, there's a positive aspect to these games, even if they're not entirely comparable. A very large majority of players who play Forza Horizon will want to play Grand Theft Auto and will probably want to play it more than Forza Horizon. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be such a big event. So, releasing Forza at that time means taking the risk of competing with Grand Theft Auto and, unfortunately, having a game that gets a little bit overlooked. Well, it's true that this is a bit of speculation. Maybe Grand Theft Auto will still be scheduled for May 2026, but that still seems pretty unlikely. But for me, that's not really the bad news because personally, I'm a fan of Forza Horizon. Even if it comes out at the same time as Grand Theft Auto, I'll find time to play both. The thing is, having development cycles that are too long for big games is exactly what's killing the industry right now. Personally, it makes me a bit scared. AAA games today have significantly longer development cycles compared to games in the past. The main issue is that these games are typically based on ideas or things that were popular or highly sought after at a particular moment. When a game takes 4 to 6 years to develop, by its release time, the gaming community's preferences have changed, and what was once highly demanded and appreciated is now sometimes strongly disliked or even hated. Just look at the state of most AAA games that came out in 2024 or 2025. Nearly all relied on identical trends, triggers, and atmospheres, regardless of game style. Many unreleased games had the potential to be massive hits. They emerged 2 or 3 years too late, ultimately missing the trend they were intended for. Predicting fashion trends 5 years in advance when starting game development is challenging. For racing games, the car list and driving experience are the most important factors. But I'm afraid we'll end up with a game where quite a few elements have been cut, based on what worked in the gaming world 4 years ago, and doesn't work at all anymore. The result is a game that's already outdated upon release. It's also annoying that games with 5 years of development aren't always 5 times better than those with only 1 year of development. AR12, a YouTuber, mentioned on Twitter that 5 years is a significant period in the history of Forza Horizon. But 5 years is the development time for the next Forza. That's the same duration Playground Games, the game's developer, would have needed. To launch Forza Horizon 1, develop Forza Horizon 2, launch Forza Horizon 2, develop Forza Horizon 3, launch Forza Horizon 3, and develop half of Forza Horizon 4. If it were the early 2010s, developers would have had time to release 3 games by now. And it's not at all because the next one will have 5 years of development that it will be 5 times better than a Forza Horizon. 3, developed in only 2 years, remains the franchise's masterclass to this day. When you see how long we've been asking for simple improvements that still aren't there after more than 10 years of the franchise's existence. Simple things, like, for example, turn signals or even turning on your car's headlights. Forza Horizon still lacks features common in other games of the same genre. It's a simple example that might seem a bit trivial compared to the other things this game offers. What scares me is that we'll get a Forza Horizon game that took 5 years to develop, with massive hype surrounding it. Because clearly we're going to be, in quotes, missing a new Forza Horizon. The lack is already being felt, actually, for about a year now. After a long wait, we discover that Forza Horizon 6 is essentially Horizon 5 with a different map. Unfortunately, it lacks significant new features, making it difficult to justify the 5-year development time instead of the usual 2. Moreover, we're still in a fairly unique situation. It's actually the first time in Forza's history that we've had such a long wait between the end of one Forza and the next. When Forza Horizon 5 was released, it came out only 8 months after the end of Forza Horizon 4, which means just 8 months before that. We had updates to maintain the game and keep us motivated to play. The last update for Forza Horizon 5 was at the start of the year, 2025. Apparently, nothing else is planned before Horizon's release, possibly in November 2026. That means we might go a year and a half without having anything new to do with the franchise. And honestly, that kind of sucks. Because I think there are a lot of Forza Horizon players who are really tired of the Mexico map and the overall vibe of Forza Horizon 5. So, of course, all of this is kind of a personal opinion. Maybe Horizon 6 will be incredible and the 5 years of development will really show. And we'll get some real big new features where we'll say, wow, okay, it was really worth the wait. Updates for Forza Horizon 5, like new downloadable content, may help bridge the wait for Forza Horizon 6. For now, the outlook isn't great. Meanwhile, many of us are frustrated by the lack of information about the upcoming Forza game. But there is still some good news in all this, which is that it's also going to leave the necessary space and the opportunity for players to enjoy other games in that style. This might benefit the Commodore Fest, it might also benefit Test Drive, and it could also help other smaller games that are launching in the open-world racing genre. They wouldn't get as much attention if they were completely overshadowed by the release of a new Forza Horizon. The delay allows players to explore maps and gameplay styles from other games. However, for those who only play Forza Horizon, it's more complex. So yeah, bottom line, Forza Horizon 6 isn't coming out this year, at least, most likely not. It'll probably be at the end of 2026. What we'll need from this Forza Horizon is the Forza Horizon that benefited from a long development and probably also from bigger budgets. And by that, I think players will really be looking forward to it. I think mistakes will be less forgivable for a game that had 5 or 6 years of development, rather than a game that only had 2. We'll see. I still hope we get some info this year about the next Forza, maybe images or at least leaks and rumors. On my end, I'll see you again in the coming days for more videos. As mentioned, we'll continue working on Test Drive, Gran Turismo, Assetto, and other games, leaving room for new titles. Check out my videos. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing, liking this video, and sharing your thoughts on the situation in the comments. Are you happy that it's next year? Are you annoyed? Do you think Forza is really taking too many risks here? Or do you trust them to deliver, after 5 years, a game that will truly be an absolute masterpiece? It's up to you to tell me what you think in the comments. On my end, I'll see you tomorrow live for a new game discovery, so feel free to join. That's all, really. Follow the Twitch channel and consider subscribing to support. See you tomorrow. Bye.